Well, hello. It is uh, 5:15 p.m. on November 3rd for me. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you happen to be watching us. Um, and welcome to a very odd after work stream for me. Apologies to anybody who normally follows along from Europe, where I assume most people are in bed now because it's 1:15 a.m. UTC. We're on YouTube today, trying it out, just see, what I like about it, give it a little shot. And we're doing this odd stream anyway, so figured I'd throw it on YouTube, give the tech a little try, see where we can get. Today we're going to be picking up from where we left off Saturday. That is moving from the V2 to V3 abstractions. So we'll be doing that today. That's kind of where we left ourselves off. So if I take a look at this, Saturday, right, we did message sync, and then test assembly starting as the first message that we actually got ported over. And I actually was able to start deleting, I think, some of the old V2 messages out of where we were. So that's what we'll pick up today. We'll start moving some more messages. Left ourselves some notes here. X Unit 1 test assembly runner. We need to figure out how we're generating assembly IDs. So that's probably what we'll do first. We need some adaptation layer from V2 messages to V3 messages for running utility. We'll talk about that when we get to that. We already have one of these today for V1. Actually, this note should probably say V1, V2 messages, because we'll also need it for V1. We have that layer today as a V1 to V2 layer, but we really need it for V3. All right, so where were we? So we set all of our references to test assembly starting. That was the message we piped through last time. And so we have a bunch of new references to this now. Should be across everywhere, right? So common, core, which is where we really want, our focus is making sure that we get everything done in core, but we also plumbed that through into V3 runner. What we didn't yet do, two things we didn't yet do on those notes, right? We're gonna do those now to sort of finish up that work. First thing is going to be figuring out what a unique ID for an assembly will be so that we can generate it. And then we'll need to get some adapters. And you can see here, for example, X Unit 1 is now sending test assembly starting, which is a new V3 message instead of V2 message. That's good. What we don't see here yet is any reference to X Unit 2 and any conversion from V2 to V3 messages. So I think what would happen today if we were to run a utility is that we would end up getting an I test assembly starting message from V2, which, because of the way we did the threading of the messages through, would just show up as an I test assembly starting message, not as an underscore test assembly starting. And then we would basically be ignoring it. And that's probably not such a big deal at the moment, but we will definitely want to understand exactly, what impact that has. Like, we have some, we probably need some V2 acceptance tests around the message conversion. Those tests don't exist today because, of course, running utility today is still written in terms of V2 messages, except for this one that we just did. So part of that V1 to V2 to V3 conversion layer is going to need to be all about making sure that we are properly translating those messages. But before we hop into that, let's deal with unique ID, assembly unique ID. It's in this base message. And we are required to have a unique ID. We don't have the we don't have a notion of what exactly comprises an assembly unique ID at this point in time, but we will probably take some of the stuff that gets fed into this message and use it to generate the unique ID. So for example, the assembly name, assembly path, config file path, um, maybe, actually that's probably it, right? None of this other stuff is really the identity of the thing. Target framework, maybe. Although we expect when a target framework is different that the assembly path would also be different. So maybe that's not necessary. Probably just assembly name, assembly path, config file path being the contributing values that we have here. So we have a unique ID calculator. We did that several weeks ago. The unique ID generator. Basically, you feed string values into it, and then at the end, you can sort of compute a unique ID. And it's basically just doing a SHA-2 hash, which is fine. You know, it's not a big deal. We just need to figure out what the value is that we're going to throw in there, right? So there we go. 256-bit SHA-2 hash. So the places where we are setting assembly unique ID, like those are the places where we need to make sure that we have the computation. And so that's these two question marks that we left in here from last time. So one is from v3 core and one is from v3 runner utility. This one from v3 runner utility is probably for XUnit v1. We'll go see. So this one we need the assembly unique ID. What I'm thinking maybe I'll do is this is in v3 common, which means we can use it from both runner utility and core. I think maybe what we'll do is start by having like maybe a static method hanging off of here. I don't know if this is where it's going to live long term, but what we could do is something like public static string for assembly, and then take in assembly name, assembly path, config path, config file path, right? And then come up with, an easy way for us to sort of compute those values. Add can't send in nullable values. That's okay. We'll take care of that. It should be fairly simple to deal with. We'll just turn nullables into empty strings. And then, here in test assembly runner, now we can basically say a unique ID generator for assembly. And then we can say this, and this, and this. So this is the old iTest assembly. This is basically, we're still using iTest assembly inside, so that's why we've got all these dotted deep dives. Here, at some point, we'll replace iTest assembly with something else, but that'll be for us to figure out. And then the other place is going to be here, right? So that's going to be there. And this is all inside of a test collection. And these things are sort of long enough that I think I want to do this just so that I can get a nice readable format here. And then we could do that over here as well. That's probably short enough that I don't have to reformat it. Yeah, I don't know why you're pinned open. You don't need to be pinned open. So where, from a testing perspective, where are we going to test these things? XUnit 1, uh, we probably have some XUnit 1 acceptance tests at some point. We can sort of test the unique ID here. Would be correct. And then we can set up the same thing for test assembly runner. We probably have some message inspections for test assembly, like XUnit v3 acceptance tests as well. That'll be good places for that. So that's what we want, because I'd like to sort of test drive my way into this. I'd like to see sort of a failing case first. So let's see what we've got in terms of um, what is this exactly I'm looking for here. I probably have some unique ID generator tests. I do. Okay. So these are all basically compute tests. So I'll go ahead and group these into a inner class and start a new one, which is for assembly. And basically we've got, let's see. We've got some guard clauses. We're going to want to test probably. We're going to want to test some test a success case. That'll be fine. Let's see. Let's see. How about just assembly name as a success case, right? And then actually, let's do this. Let's do a theory. And then we'll do some data for it. Like as a name, null, and that's the expected value, right? So we can do assembly name, assembly path, make file path, expected results. All right, this should be pretty easy. Actual, we'll just call this expected. Actual is unique ID generator for assembly name, path, big file path. We'll do this for now. Okay, that's in common tests. Okay, that's my current project. Good. Unique ID generator does not contain a definition of for assembly. That's probably because I didn't actually implement this yet. All right, so if I'm doing this strictly TDD, then for the moment, that's what I want to do. I'm going to need XML doc. That's what the red's all about. It's a unique ID for an assembly. Be placed into, let's see, test assembly message. What was this? Yeah, test assembly message. Assembly unique ID. So test assembly message also lives in v3 common. Good. We're in the right place. It's good. Assembly name, the optional assembly path, optional configuration file path returns the computed unique ID for the assembly. Okay, that should be good. Let's go ahead and run these tests. We should get some failures here, right? That's what we would expect. Okay, so first success case fails because as of name, blah, we get a not impl. That's great. We don't exactly know what the real value is going to be here, so we can't 1000% TDD this, but what we can do is just write the code and then let it fail and then get our real value, which is fine. So we say using unique ID, let's see, generator is new, unique ID generator, generator add assembly name, generator add assembly path, generator add assembly, sorry, config file path, and generator compute. Now it should fail, but we should see like a legit value here, which is this. All right, we obviously could never have predicted that as being the real value, which is kind of why we have to write this backwards from the way you normally write TDD. But now that should work. So what I'm going to want here is a few more where we have asm path with a null, big path with a null, and then asm path and config path. So we have basically our 4 success paths here. Obviously, these values should be changing. So now I expect those other 3 to fail. And, just a reminder, why did I put object here? I just kind of glossed over that. I just so used to doing it. If it was just a string compare, you can see what ends up happening is our very helpful string compare says, hey, it differs here, but we run out of the string here to copy. Right? The assert for strings is very helpful when it's just a little bit off and you want to find out exactly where it's off. But in our case, we really literally don't know what the value is supposed to be. So we just need the whole value so that we can pop it in here. All right, so this is asm path with a null. So that's asm path with a null. This is null with a config path. That. So that's null with a config path. And then this is going to be our last one. So now when we run these, they should all pass. Okay. We have a couple of guard clauses here, right? Well, actually one guard clause, which is the assembly name can't be null. So let's go ahead and take care of that. Let's see, report exception, ID generator for assembly, null, which we're going to have to put an exclamation point on that probably. Asm path, path. All right, so it's going to yell at us. We need to force the compiler to let us do the bad thing. Assert type, argument exception, argument null exception for EX. And then this is assembly path. Parameter name. That should fail because obviously we did not do that yet. We got the right exception, the wrong parameter name, which totally fine. That just means that down in unique ID generator add, that's where we actually failed. So we'll do a not null. And that, and then rerun the tests. Did I do it on the wrong parameter? feel like maybe I did it on the wrong parameter. I meant assembly name. Okay, so the test is just wrong. Assembly name, that's fine. Okay. So now, where are places where we inspect things like the test assembly starting assembly name, assembly path, assembly unique ID, config file path? We should be able to find tests for this, right? So there's test assembly runner tests. Why are these all on a run async? Okay, I have to do the find reference in here. So start times got the fewest references. Probably not tested in tests because it's variable. Test environment, test framework name, these are definitely tested. We definitely touched these last time. So there's common tests, base messages, message sync, message tests. That I think is a serialization test. Yeah, so I don't care about that all that much. Because I'm really all about the serialization here. And we just put a random unique ID in here. So that's not the one I want. Let's see. So that's not it. That's the message. There's a core test. There's core SDK. So test assembly runner is in core. So that would make sense. We've also got some XML stuff and then XUnit v1 stuff. So there's the XUnit v1 tests, right? We're going to want that. And then let's close everybody else for the moment. And then we're going to also want test assembly runner tests, because that's, of course, what we're planning to change. I guess I shouldn't have closed quite so aggressively. Test assembly runner. All right, so somewhere in here, we have our commented out unique ID. Let's take a look at some of our stuff here. So we should be able to actually look at one of these. The question is, did we completely fabricate the message? I feel like we did. Assembly run, testable test assembly runner create, assembly, get executing, get carbon comes, wait runner, run async. What are you actually doing during run async? All right, so we've got mock test assembly here. So this is going to be assembly, get executing assembly. That's going to be interesting. I assume the mock test assembly, like when yeah, we're going to get some value here, but because this is going to be based on path, right, on disk, this is going to be, we don't exactly know where this sits whenever it's run. So we're probably going to have to pre-compute this. So like if I go look at that, where were we? We were here. Nope, not here. We were here. Expected unique ID. Going to be unique ID generator for assembly. We need the mock. We want that. This assembly, get executing assembly. We have easy access to this thing. It's mock test assembly. Goes into the base of the runner. Does the runner make it easy for us to get at it? Protected. So I kind of feel like we want to maybe expose that out. Usually the easiest thing to do would just be re-expose it, right? Public new test assembly. Expose that out as a public now instead of a protected. And this mock is sitting inside the runner. So runner dot test assembly dot name. Runner test assembly dot path. Runner test assembly config file name. That's what we should expect. But since we're sending in question mark right now, test should fail. Oh, I ran the wrong thing. This is in core tests now. Core tests. Nice. We got a failure. Yeah, that's going to be why we use object. All right, so we want that. Oh, actually, we don't care about that. We got a legitimate value. That's what we cared about. Now I want to go back into test assembly runner, which for some reason I have closed again. Man, I understand I try to be tidy, but that's ridiculous. Okay. Now we do the real thing, and our test should pass. Looking good. Looking good, Mr. Cotter. Okay. No questions yet. So the other half of this then is X Unit 1 tests. So we know that X Unit 1 has this same code commented out. We should be able to do basically the same thing now here on this in our tests. And in fact, we have this commented out one here, which this is a completely fabricated assembly configs. These are fixed values, so we should also be able to use a fixed value here. So we'll go ahead and we'll do question mark and then not do question mark anymore here. Instead, we do this. I have an extra blank line there. And actually, one test, that's going to be running utility tests. So let's set you as my startup project. All right, we get a failure. And then that becomes that. And that becomes that. Okay, let's do build here. Make sure these are all running here as well. While that runs, we'll go to a quick review of the code. All right, there's our tests. There's our checker. There's that test. There's one use of the generator and its test. Another use of the generator. While that's doing that, we'll fire up Ubuntu. Takes a few seconds first time. Oh, apparently we need to do some package updates. See if any of this is important. Bunch of library stuff, yeah. So it's important. Chugging along. Okay. View assembly, unique ID for GPG to warm up. Warm up GPG. We're going to push that. You're done. We're going to terminate that. And then start it again. Okay. Pull that and make sure it works on Linux. Don't anticipate any failures here, but you never know. File paths turn out different. Should just do its thing. SHA-256 should be SHA-256 everywhere. Otherwise, what is the point? Yeah, good times. We can go to our notes. Get rid of that note. Cert's good, v3 common's good, v3 core is good, runner common's good, runner inproc, runner utility's good. Okay. Feeling confident about that change then. So the other thing we left a note about, why did I click there? Because it's 6 o'clock on a Tuesday. An adaptation layer from v1, v2 messages to v3. So in a sense, we already have v1. I don't know why I put that there now that I'm looking at it. I mean, we just wrote that test, right? That's exactly what XUnit1 CS is all about. This, this used to send an assembly starting, an old test assembly starting, and now it's sending the new test assembly starting. So it's sending the thing that everything is depending on. But we don't have an equivalent for XUnit 2 yet, right? So we need an XUnit 2 message adapter, for lack of a better term. So let's go write one of those. All right. XUnit runner v2. This class adapts XUnit.net v2 messages to XUnit.net v3 messages. Okay. Probably static. If I were to start with TDD on this, right, and run a utility tests, we go down to frameworks, v2. Let's do that. XUnit2 messages adapter tests. All right. Don't really know exactly where to start here. I guess I'll start with the success case and see how that treats us. Test assembly starting. Did I kill the old test assembly starting? I might have. I bet I did. Right, I did. What I should have done is brought this over into here. Well, I mean, I could do that right now, right? I'm not going to need XML docs. Assembly message. Yep, that's fine. And there's too many of those. That's fine. Um, all right, so we need a new one of these. It's going to take test cases. It's going to take test assembly, a date, time. Which of these things do I actually need now, though? Because remember, this is now a stripped down version of test assembly starting. Does it need test cases? I don't think so, because our adapted test assembly starting doesn't have test cases in it, right? We will need a test assembly. We're not going to need any of these. So let's do our normal testable pattern, right? Go ahead and be commented out. Why are you upset? Hmm. As I deleted your using statement. Start time, test environment, test framework, display name, all of those are like that. So if we do a create method, create, um, we're never going to need test cases. We may want to fabricate the test assembly through other stuff where we're going to obviously use the mocks to do that. Let's start thinking about what it is we need to do. So if I were to return a new testable test assembly starting, I need test cases. Let's do a numerable empty of I test case. As none is fine. Mocks test assembly. We can do it for, let's see, looks like an assembly with a config file name or an assembly file name with a config file name and types. So let's do assembly file name, config file name. We need a start time. So we'll do start time, test environments, and test framework display name. Okay, so that leads us to the list of parameters we need. Assembly file name. We're going to put defaults in here for all of these. Config file name. Date time, start time is, we'll do this as a null, and then replace the nullable inside the code. Test and test framework display name is test framework. All right, so here we'll say new date time 2020 11 3 17 55 0. So you don't give me a date time, you're getting, well, effectively now, but frozen now. Okay, so given that, I should be able to now do this, which is a create. And then the 3 test assembly starting will be X unit 2 message adapter adapt this. We're going to expect this to be a test assembly starting. I'm just going to put a type here for the moment because that'll help me generate this, auto-generate this in a second. And then do things like ASM name or v3 test assembly starting, assembly name, assembly file name. Let's do let's do this. Let's see, how do I determine when I'm running on Unix? I think that's a runtime environment is not runtime environment, environment. See, that's not it either. All right, I've definitely got Tech Unix.net, Unix.net Core. OS platform, runtime information. One of those, right? I knew I was going to hit it sooner or later. Runtime information, OS is OS platform, Windows. Assembly file name is users assembly DLL. Brad Wilson, assembly DLL. So these are like, we're gonna want to use that over and over again, right? So let's put the constructor here. It's gonna actually be a static. Why did I hit escape? I mentor the enter. Thank you. Okay. So now I don't need this. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this by default gets the OS specific assembly file name. Okay. So this should just be the path. Actually, this should just be assembly.dll, I think. OS specific file name, v3 test assembly path. Well, that's interesting. That's going to be different unique IDs then, isn't it? Based on the OS. Sure. because we need you to still construct that unique ID. All right, so do compute. Disassembly config file path. I think we said is null by default. So we're going to say null. We might theory this. You know what I mean? I we probably should theory this. Assembly path. And our create will take assembly path. What am I calling it path? These are names. My brain has now lost itself. What do we call them here? Call them path. What I thought. Why am I calling these names? Okay. File path. It's fine. Mine data. You don't actually care about this so much. I don't know. Like challenging my thought on whether or not I care about these things. Quick peek in here. See if there's any messages. Look like it. Okay. Actually, I suppose I should make sure my tweet went out. My tweet apparently did go out. Okay, good. I definitely want to avoid Twitter right now. Warm in here under all the lights. Okay. So one thing I can't put here is OS specific assembly path, right? You'll get upset at me, right? Because it has to be const. It's okay. Try and come up with a fancy name. It's public static theory data string string string. Yield return. Can't do a yield return with theory data. Use theory data. It's fine. I'm going to need to do some computation there. So the first set of stuff I'll send through is as and path, null, that, and then the last thing we'll come through with here is expected unique ID. So we'll compute that in a minute. That should be config file path. This should be path get file name, or if it's with or without an extension. I guess we'll find out. Assembly path. And then this is just final assembly path. Not as many of those usages as I expected. Out, extension, mock assembly info, name returns, path get file name without extension. Well, that answers that. Okay, what else is in here? Got start time. Target framework, test environment, test framework display name. I think that's it. Okay. So test environment is going to be test env. It's going to be test framework. This, we don't, not quite sure what that's going to be yet. And then start time is going to be that. Except, adapting a datetime to a datetime offset. Datetime can take datetime kind or a calendar. Time kind or a calendar. That's certainly more than I need. Datetime kind, we'll do this, right? Datetime kind UTC. This can be new datetime offset. With a time span 0 for this UTC. Yes, you can be null. So that'll be our first set of data. Target framework. What did we do with target framework? Did we make thing that computes our target framework? Well, I just put it in XML. Somewhere in here, we use this. So on assembly, we did a get target framework on the assembly. That's a good question. So the mock assembly, like we're gonna need to put target framework attribute in there. All right, we'll come back to this in a minute. Because I don't know what that's going to be yet. So we don't have adapt yet, so we're obviously not going to build. All right, nobody has an adapt. It's fine. Let's go generate an adapt, which apparently it generated one that's broken. That's amazing. Global blah 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 blah. Okay, yeah, well, that was close enough, right? Not impl is totally fine. You're upset because missing XML comments. We'll come back and do that in a minute. You can now be a var. You, right, are not returning a nullable. That's okay. Running utility tests. Yep, you're my default. Let's go ahead and run you. Watch you fail. This is the not impl. Okay. Very good. And we go implement you, which is let's return a new test assembly starting. Assembly name we know is a path get file name without exception, test assembly starting dot test assembly dot assembly path. Oh, it's already there. Actually, it's already there. Totally forgot it's already there. Your assembly path, unique ID. We'll come back to you in a moment. Big file path. File name. Start time is start time. We have to do the conversion there. Target framework, we don't know yet. Test environment. So we need a unique ID. Well, so the easiest way to do this is to then just say I'm starting to wonder whether or not this class should dynamically compute this if it doesn't exist. Oh, we'll see. All right, so that should be it for that. That's good enough. Okay, run. Sure. All right. If we go look at our unique ID generator tests, All right, I'm sort of expecting to see some commonalities here, although we have separate asm name and asm path, and that's not necessarily how the mocks work. So I guess it won't be exactly the same. That should fail. Just need some big long number. Okay. Then we should be able to do some OS specific stuff here. And then pre-compute. I'll just add a .json on the end. Unique ID will be the unique ID generator for assembly. OS specific assembly path. OS specific config path. And of course, the file name here is just the symbol. So now I also want to return these. Let's see, so the OS specific assembly path, OS specific config path, OS specific unique ID. That one should just work, right? Okay, as of course we computed it. What we don't know here yet is how to get the target framework. It's because our mock doesn't have target framework attribute yet. But if I were to send that through, all right, if I were to look at my adapter, what I'd want here is something like test assembly starting dot test assembly dot get assembly dot get custom attributes type of target framework attribute, full name, target framework. Start with that. Actually, should be able to just null dot our way through this, right? Target framework attribute. First or default. Dot get named argument. No, it's not named argument. It's the constructor arguments. Single of types. Cast to string single. And that's some pretty significant abuse of link there, right? At the moment, what'll probably come through is null, because our mock doesn't do this yet, right? So all three of these fail because five of these fail. Oh, three. Oh, where I got five from. All right, so all three of these fail because we're getting null instead of the question marks, which totally makes sense. What we like to do here is have a target framework as a value. That's actually what we want to see threaded through the mock. So types and attributes. Headers. Okay, so mock attributes. So we don't generally have a mock for, oh, look at that, mock test framework attribute. That's test framework, not target framework. Mocks target framework attribute target framework. Right. Let's go ahead and generate that. This is going to be 3 mocks. Interesting. I would have thought these would be V2 mocks, but I think I commented out all the V2 mocks. Right? Mocks, CS. So there's common test doubles and then test doubles V2 for mocks. All of these should be using the V2 mocks. Xunit runner V2 mocks. Mocks is a big difference between Xunit V2 and the 3 mocks. Yeah, okay. Makes sense. Runner V2 mocks. Actually, was that the only reason we had Xunit V3? Okay. I find that hard to believe, but sure. All right, so we put that in the wrong mocks, right? Right. So let's go put that in the right mocks. Target framework should be right here. I compute info, right? We return a reflector wrap around a new target framework attribute with, I guess this is called framework name. Which I guess this could be like this. Let's see. Initialize blah. Can I convert from a target framework to an assembly reflector wrap? Custom attribute. Oh, we have to do custom attribute data. We can't do like a real legit attribute, right? Because of course this has to be. This has to be. The reflection version of attributes don't look like real attributes. Ugh, totally forgot about that. So how am I doing the rest of my attributes? I have other attributes in here for sure. So let's go find one. Test framework attribute. To either create instance or a test framework. Okay. Substitute forward interface proxy, return that. Sure. Sounds like a Wiener. Yeah, we're not one of those anymore, are we? Dodo. Okay. That's the attribute. That's the result. Substitute. Attribute returns the attribute. Custom attributes, blah, blah, blah. Returns any args, blah, blah, blah. Here's a call info. And custom attribute, custom attribute get list, selects, reflector, wrap to array. Get type. Get custom attributes of null. Returns for any args. Returns call info lookup attribute. What is this? Fully qualified type name. You type, attributes where blah is assignable from blah to list. We need constructor args as well. And that returns Object array. That I don't think I need. Just need those two, I think. Okay, back to our test. Will our test pass? Will it blend? No. Why in the world would you ever ask me that question? Your code doesn't compile. You want to run it anyway? What? Oh, we got mocks problems in River City. Wait, yeah. One of the reasons we commented this out was because we didn't. Some of these things just don't work. Execution error test. You need an iMessage sync. Stop it. That was not the right function key. You need an iMessage sync. iMessage sync and null message sync. Oh yeah. There. See how badly this messes us up. Got some red down here at the bottom. Some of these things will probably go back to where they used to be. Or the V2 versions of these will probably stop existing. Actually, this is a really great opportunity to just start commenting out all the things without references. So it will be interesting to see which of these things actually stay and which of them go. I think some of them are going to just never come back. That's my hope anyway. 0, 0, 0. There's a 4. 0. 1. There's a 4. Some zeros. There's a 0. There's a 1. 0. There's a couple of 1s. 3 is 0. Interesting thing is all the things that I'm commenting out may be what's contributing to all the other things that theoretically still have references. So I'm going to want to come through here a couple more times until everything reads 0 or everything reads not 0. Right? See, that was a 1 until I commented that other thing out, then it became a 0. So some of these things are probably so you're a 3, you're fine. 1, 4, 1, 1, 8, 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 4. See that one? no longer required. That one no longer required. Problem is every time I do this, I have to go through and do it again until everything means non-zero. And then I can just start bringing things back. One at a time is required by law. And I like that we're getting rid of some namespaces as well. So that's a 2. Let's say, can I collapse up some of these things? So 1, there's a 2. Hey, there's a new 0. Collapse, you're a 1. Hey, you're a 0. Say, you should either get into the collapse or the collapse should go away. One of the two. Collapse. 4. You're a 1. Nope, you're a 0. Good job, buddy. Recollapse. Hey, you're a 0 now. One, 2, 1, 3, 1. Oh, hey, you got to be 0. Good job. 2, 0. 1, 1, 1, 2, 0. 1, 1, 0, 0. Okay. 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1. Okay, good. Everybody build now? No. Can it convert an iReflection attribute info into an iType info? Oh, these are supposed to be types. No, I have the wrong thing then. Test assembly. All right, that needs to be called out as attributes. Okay. As a comment, you can go away because you've been plumbed through, sir. Okay. Believe that is it for that. Now we just need to use it. Right? So somewhere in here, like what we need is we need like an adaptive message sync. Okay, so one more class. This is going to be the XUnit2 message sync adapter. Did I capitalize that incorrectly? Yes, I did. Very good. Here public, here XUnit router v2 adapts my message sync and my message sync with types. To message sync. Know what we called it? Did we call you runner common? You can run a common? We just left it as iMessage sync. Okay. That. I'll take that. Actually, I don't really care about that much. Goodbye. I kind of do. One way or the other. I have, do I call these adapters? I think I remembered seeing wrap. Wrap. Yeah, that's the old stuff. Determines whether a given sync is already implementation. Creates a wrapper to adapt it. That thing still needs to be there. Actually, need two message sync adapt. These names are going to get a little weird. Um, yeah, I'm not even 100% sure about that. I'm still going to need this. I mean, I might. For the moment, though, what I want to do is, and I can take this comment out for the moment. It's a static class, right? Public. Right. So iMessage sync is an on message for an iMessage sync message. Really need like a type. We need like a type dispatcher of sorts. Yeah. V2 to V3 adapter means you are an iMessage sync. And as a constructor, you take an iMessage sync. Every one of these needs to go out as something else. And this is where our type mapping helps. Let's assume that we're going to take an iMessage sync with types. Wait a minute. I mean, I think I know what I'm doing, but I also don't. This is backwards, isn't it? I have one of these that accepts messages. Yes, this is backwards. What I want is this. That's not actually the one I care about, is it? I want to go the other way right now. Okay. Message sync with types has interface types. So you also need to be an iMessage sync. Need to be both of those things. Well, everybody's watching me lose my mind in real time, trying to decide what the name of this thing is. Interface types. Can I actually do this? Interface type full names of the implemented interfaces. That's and message sync with types. Like, what am I doing here? Right. On message with types. V2 to V3 message sync. Yes, that is the correct name. Trying to call it adapter was part of the problem, right? Okay. Um, basically, if we get a message or if we get a message with types, we need to adapt it into V3. So the message sync adapter that exists today. So this get implemented interfaces or a message sync message. On message with types, right? That's essentially we need to do the exact same thing over here, except this get implemented interfaces lives on message sync adapter. Then on message with types, essentially what we want to do is we want to say things like if message types contains, we're looking for essentially type of I test assembly starting, full name. You're upset because that might be null, except it's not. One, two, one, two, three, one, two, three, okay. Then we would like to basically say v3 message sync dot on message of X unit to message adapter adapt message. Find it correctly. As I test assembly starting. Actually, can I just hard cast this? Should be able to, right? And then for now, we just have a fall through, which says you just get the message as it is. So the protocol here with messages is that we send the message. When we send the message, the return of bool is essentially used as an indicator as to whether or not we should continue running tests, right? This is our escape mechanism. So we start assuming, always assuming that we want to continue. And our desire to continue is based on whether or not we have already been told to stop, or if this tells us to stop, we should also stop. So that's why we do a double at. And because of short circuit evaluation, we want to make sure that this goes at the end, because that way we have, yeah, that way we have the message always being dispatched. Actually, I'm going to do an internal diagnostics message now. Actually, I can't even really do that. Oh, sometimes we don't know. What's the remoting boundary? We don't know. Somewhere we definitely have a dispatch. I feel like message sync message extensions dispatch. And a cast. This isn't common, but this is really a V2 thing. Yeah, this is really a V2 thing. Let's make sure this ended up in, oh, it's probably in an extensions folder, isn't it? No, it's in frameworks V2. Okay, good. So we have cast and dispatch. So what we really want here, so we want message.dispatch, test assembly starting, message types, and then a callback on test assembly starting. That's going to return a bool, right? This wants message handler of test assembly starting, message handler with a delegate, which takes message handler args of t and returns void. Okay. Args message. So we should do this. Except this is now just message. So just right, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Args message. Args is stopped. That's our handler, huh? Args is stopped. Whether a stop has been requested. Can it be used as context as setters inaccessible? Fall back on args. All right, where are the references to this? I feel like I'm using it wrong. Result and not canceled. We should go back and invoke. Void. It's not clear to me how all this stuff is supposed to get stopped. Oh, it's just got a stop method. Oh, calls it stop method. Nobody calls the stop method. How does this work? Nobody calls the stop method. Execution summary saying, I've assumed that somebody else is going to do this, but we're the somebody else. Not, you say, should have an if here. Don't feel like I want dispatch here. I feel like I want the cast. Yeah, do is not known continue right now. Can't really do this pattern matching now, can you? Maybe I can still use dispatch. Really don't feel like it's got a weird signature mismatch here from what I want to do though. What if I did? What if instead of a message handler, I just did a func And when you return bool, I get, like, I'll do the work for you. It's kind of weird. Callback is simple. No, returns true if processing should continue, false otherwise. So the question is, how many things will I have broken now with all of this? I comment this out, right? To message extendeds break anybody else. Looks like no, that's good. So that means all my calls to dispatch were pretty solidly taking args and returning void. So we'll start with a pass through. Actually, I think even easier than that. What I should be able to do is I should be able to say message dispatch, return message dispatch, I test assembly, starting message types. We don't have to guard that message types at all. Just messages. Then callback for me is going to be the one that takes a message, then a bool. Right, so then this should be v3 message sync on message of unit 2 message adapter, adapt that message. Okay. So we have dispose on here just in case. iMessage sync doesn't have disposable on it. We haven't talked about whether or not it needs disposable. But we can dispose it. It is. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and close everything else. Let's go make some tests for this. Now that I figured out what it does. All right, close everybody. Sync up. So you're in frameworks v2. Let's go to frameworks v2. Add a new class. Unit 2 message sync adapter tests. All right. What are our tests here actually, right? Let's go ahead and get these split. So in essence, what we want to do is we want to start feeding messages into it. Two messages are automatically converted to their v3 form to the v3 message. So param name v3 message sync. Yep. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to say if you send in test assembly starting, apps I test assembly starting. Mocks. Test assembly starting. I'm sure that's in one of our folded up regions, right? Probably. Okay. Actually, that's not a mock. We have a spy, right? Spy message sync. Create mocks. This, by the way, indicates to me that maybe this thing, because it's going to be long-lived, should have a better name. All right, so if we're going to create a message, an iMessage sync, it's just going to get a list of messages. So message sync message. Oh, where's an iMessage sync message? For now, it will eventually change, right? Sync is X unit to message sync adapter adapt for the v3 sync. Then we want to say v2 sync on message v2 message. Search single in our v3 messages. Pass-through is actually going to make that not be true, even though it really should be true eventually. Just a link to do that filtering. I don't want to. I mean, I really don't want to test all the properties again. On the other hand, I wonder if the adapter, like the existing adapter, is the right pattern. What if I send in this and then let it give me back a message sync message, right? That might actually be better. Because if I have the adapter, especially if I can substitute it out, all I want to do is make sure that given that you adapted, you converted it. And then at that point, I'm not sure that I really care about much of the tests. I don't want to test all the types. right? Like if what this thing took was an optional func, the adapter func. Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to comment this out. I want to comment this out. I want to come back to the message adapter tests. And if I now say adapt, instead of having a type safe adapt, what I should do is I should have an I message sync message and an optional hash set of string. Like that, all right? Like really super optional. And what I would do is I can now use message.dispatch. Right now I can write a version of dispatch instead of this version of dispatch that I actually cared about. And write like a convert. First messages from, let's see, message. Actually, I actually don't need this. What I need is, I need this code. I just need this code. Actually, just get the whole thing, right? Convert from that using func of t message to message sync message converter. I need that. You need that. Basically say now cast. So this is message cast, message types. Cast message is not equal to null, then we would just return the converter of the cast message. sync message is an iMessage sync message. So this guy's actually going to return one of those for the moment. Call this adapt test assembly starting. Otherwise that. So this is adapt test assembly starting. That's my bad. Test assembly starting. Okay. So our test probably will compile expecting a type, right? We'll call this adapted, I guess. V2 or is this V3? Needs V3. What do we add that added V3? That message type. Well, okay. Test passed, good. Close everybody else. So this should now be very simply that. Oh no, we have to call, right, we have to call the V3 message sync with that message. And we don't have to put any more type specific message stuff in here. This should pass, but this isn't really the test I want to run, but I am kind of curious to make sure that it passes. Test environment was empty. XU2 message adapter, let's see. XU2 message adapter 35, adapt test assembly starting. We construct a test assembly starting with a test environment that is apparently empty. That would be because our mock test assembly starting never implemented that, our v2 mock. So the question is, do we actually care? I don't think so. Because what I've got here is now I've got this adapter, which is basically a function definition. And what I should be able to do is now be able to say, hey, given a function from an iMessage sync message to yes, an iMessage sync message. That's got the wrong type. All right, so if I pass the adapter through here now, field adapter, they're not going to be null. You're going to say adapter is that null coalesce with mixing it to message sync adapter adapt. Oh yeah, it also takes a hash set, right? Sort of forgot about that part. No param tag. Don't really do that, can I? Substitutes for funcs don't work. Possible null reference return. What? I don't believe you. Yeah, that was weird. Like seriously weird. How many contains? Collection. Expected in a collection. I'm mad because you maybe know. Okay. This messaging message extensions. I don't think anything is calling it anymore. I think I wrote that dispatch and don't need it anymore. right? No callers. Copy path. I don't need to copy the path. I'm just going to discard it. All right, just discard v2 mocks. Yeah, this was a lot. All right, let's stage. We're going to want to stage all of those, I'm sure. Sounds good. That one should be good. Okay. So here we'll just end up writing a bunch of these, which are going to look exactly like the static methods that we were writing before, except they won't be public. All going to go through this, which is dynamically type dispatched, because frankly, that's how everything comes in, right? Everything is going to come in untyped. This is coming across the border, whether that's an app domain border or the assembly border, just as an iMessage sync message. So we might as well do the type conversion here, isolate it here. This is now a simple signature that we can use as our input to our test. We just do this quick config. And then by using null coalesce here, what we'll basically do is set up convert after convert after convert after convert. And right now, at the end of all of that, if nothing gets converted, we just send back the original message. But eventually we won't be able to do that, because once these types don't line up, then we won't be able to do that. But that's the intention, right? We should only have the messages here that are going to get converted. So, okay. So that's, I like that. I like where that landed. And now this is pretty simple, right? Our adapt takes a message sync and that func, which is totally optional. And then this thing basically uses the dynamic dispatch adapter. So that's why we have one test. Because really all it does is call that adapter. Okay, we're all staged. We are good to go. Let's run the tests. Where are you? And prompt. Let's run the tests. So this isn't going to be, all right. So this isn't going to completely fix this, right? We've the adaptation layer, but we now need to start threading in. We now need to start threading that in to run a utility, so that run a utility starts taking iMessage sync instead of iMessage everywhere, which it probably is. I think we probably did that the other day. And then in V2, every time we call into, every time we have a V3 message sync from run a utility, and we need to create one for V2 because we need to hand it off for find and run, then we will do the adaptation at that point for find and run. And then that should continue to do the work that we need to do. I would hope. So one of the things that's happening right now, my guess is, like if I do a test v2 on this, I think by not having the test assembly starting, we probably won't end up with the XML element being properly populated for V2 tests. That's what I think we should be able to see from the outside right now. So I kind of want to test that theory. So I want to call this add XUnit to message adapter and XUnit to message sync adapter. I think if I do build test v2, what I should end up with okay, so we are using a v3 console runner here. So this XML file that's being generated here in the artifacts should be weird. Like it should be missing things because it doesn't see the real message. All right, if I were to say, look at artifacts, tests, XUnit v2 tests, I guess net 452 XML. What do I want to browse this with? All right, we'll try VS 2019, even though that feels wrong. Whoa. That is weird. Wow. Is that true for the V3 stuff? No. Whoa, okay, that's weird. I wonder if, well, I mean, for starters, we know that our assembly element here has some totals on it, but none of the other information. But also, why the hell is it formatted incorrectly? Why is the V2 XML formatted incorrectly? Why is the XML formatted incorrectly when running V2 tests? Looks okay with V3 tests. NetFX. Right, so we're missing name, environment, test framework, run date, runtime, target framework. Hey, target framework, that's new. We added that Saturday. All right, so it's missing that. And that's because it doesn't see the correct message. So I think what that means now is an XUnit to discoverer. So this XUnit to discover is given an iMessage sync. Which I think I'm okay with. I think. What is XUnit 1 being given? XUnit 1's also being given an iMessage sync. Okay, I changed my mind. I'm not okay with this. So what I want is I want you to take an iMessage sync. Discoverer, I want you to take an iMessage sync as well. And you, and you, and you. So all those are diagnostic message syncs. Just fine. What's the red line? Domain factory create wants a real message sync. Yeah, so this is where our adapter comes in, right? V2 diagnostic message sync. Unit to message sync adapter adapt our diagnostic message sync. And I message sync with types. You want, can I convert from X unit run to V2 iMessaging with types to X to message abstractions iMessage sync? Why not? Because you aren't exactly that, are you? The thing is, the thing that I return is both. But I don't have like type unions in this language. So I can't say this thing that I'm giving you back is both. I'm just going to cast the thing because I know, man, that's ugly. But unfortunately, those types couldn't actually derive from one another. At least they couldn't in the old days. Why can't they now? I think I didn't want to just so that I always knew which one I had. But man, that's annoying. Okay. And you're okay. Where did I break though? I must have broken. So the front controller needs to take one of those and one of those. And that should be one of those. And the empty one is one of those. V2 diagnostic message sync is unit 2. Sync adapter adapt. Diagnostic message sync. Message sync. Oh, so I have an idea for this. Why don't I just make this thing public? Or declare a new interface that is both of those things. That might actually be easier, right? Wait, what if this thing was that? Right? What if this thing was this? Oh, no, actually, because I think I'm going to end up with other adaptations. Actually, let's not make you public. Let's make you, you're fine. Inherit doc, inherit doc, inherit doc. Why are you so light blue? Okay. Okay, now I don't have to cast anything. Discover was probably the other place I was casting, right? Can't cast you anymore. Smell comment has malformed XML. Oh, it does. Buried in the wrong place. And I converted V3 message sync to an abstractions message sync. Totes understandable. Because I haven't done that one yet. My message sync still is iMessage sync message, which is okay. Actually, no. You were fine the way you were. Unit 1 executor just needs to take the right kind of message sync. To manage your factory creates an app domain with a diagnostic message sync. Actually, you know what? This doesn't get passed along the borders, does it? No. Okay, guess what? I was wrong on all that conversion anyway. You should be one of these. You should be one of these. Because now you can just take that as is. And those changes I made in XUnit 2 and XUnit 2 Discoverer can go away. The conversion code is it only in XUnit 2 Discover? Probably also in the front controller. We also need to figure out where the diagnosis message sync gets, or where the message sync gets passed in for run, find and run. Those also need to change. All right, front controller, did we break you, front controller? Use session wrapper. Who else? Visual Studio source information provider. Who else? Front controller, right? There's another. I knew I had an adapt in here. I just need to find it. Possible null reference argument. Possible null reference, what? Oh. That was just dumb. I would have caught that in the code review anyway, but okay. So now assembly runner. Diagnose message sync is a message sync wrapper this. Here and I message sync with types. Here and I message sync now, sir. Yeah, and you're upset about now I got to fix controller find and run tests. We knew that was coming. This isn't an easy change here. The old implementation of iMessage sync with types was to make sure that when we went across the border, we got reasonable performance. Our new message sync doesn't have to do that because it's not based on types. So in the meantime, what ends up having to happen here is can't implement message sync with types anymore. We just have to dispatch without having types. We just don't have any types. One of the things that needs to be dispatching maybe is test assembly starting. Did we already do that? Or it just never cared? It just never cared because it's pulling test assembly finished, which has all the information that starting used to have. So that's fine for now. It just means that when we come through here and we want that information, it's not available. We'll just have to dispatch elsewhere. Okay, so controller find. Yeah, so we knew this was coming. So test framework discoverer. What's the controller? Shouldn't it be a front control? Oh, it is a front controller. Do we have? We don't yet. So we just have iFront controller, although that's in run utility. So it uses iTest framework discoverer. Hey, iTest framework discover and iTest framework executor. Access function allows us hiding difference between X unit V1, V2, and V3 tests. Yeah, that's great. How many things is that going to break? Front controller, get rid of disposable dispose. I'm gonna guess a lot of that. So your find should take an underscore iMessage sync. You should take an underscore iMessage sync. So everything in here that's an iMessage sync should become an iMessage sync. An underscore. Thank you. Okay. We're going to explicitly implement that, and that's the way it should be. An underscore with an underscore with an underscore. We got all kinds of things that need to get underscored now. As a test case. All ability of reference types in return blah does not match implicitly implemented itest for a deserialized string, possibly because of nullability attributes. Okay. I would agree with that. It does not. And now that's fixed. Let's come down here. Right. You need an underscore. And you need an underscore. And test class callback handler. You are in dispatches v1 executive messages from running a test class. So your message sync should also be underscore now. Unit 2 is an iFront controller, which means now you have that. Is that your problem? Actually, I expect you to tell me if and when that's a problem. Probably in the base class, right? And yes, upset about this. Disposable we wanted to get rid of. Okay, you're formatted incorrectly. And you have the wrong types. You're formatted incorrectly. And you have the wrong types. Yeah, why not? You're formatted incorrectly too. So why are you red? It's create optimized remote message sync. You need to take an underscore message sync. This is where our adaptation needs to happen. Message sync with types adapter wrap. Actually, Oh yeah, that thing should be a long-lived Marshall by rep object as well. Like, I think this is something we can eventually get rid of, right? Because our other thing actually is one of these already. Sync with types. All right, you have to come out of the track. Okay. We need a options adapter, huh? Okay. Come back to that in a minute. What else is broken? Front controller. Yeah, all true. This also needs to get fixed, right? All right. That is, that doesn't fix it either. It's not really a problem. Or if it's a problem, it'll come back later. You need to take underscores. That's it for you. And you're formatted wrong. You're the wrong types. Formatted wrong and you're the wrong types. Formatted wrong, you have the wrong types. Possible null dereference. I wonder what this did before. Test case was null. I feel like it probably just failed. Because one of the things I would expect is that every serialization should end up with a key value pair. So I kind of feel like what I want here is actually this. All right, the bulk deserializer probably should be this and this. And now that. But then, of course, that changes this, right? Where do you live? Scripter providers, descriptors, and bulk deserializers, all that stuff is up here, but that's just because we don't know if we can get rid of it yet. That's why. Remote executor is an iTest framework executor. That is true. Deserializer from me. This test case bulk deserializer, that's here, right? Uh-huh. That's on the other side. All right, we got rid of that. I'm guessing. V3. Hmm. This is a big change, bigger change than I had anticipated. Right. That really doesn't exist anymore. And what it wants is the discover object, the executor object, serialized test cases object, and the callback object. And right, just calls executor deserialized. So changing the signature, that's probably fine. Then for the nullability, I mean. Why is the front controller doing serialization, deserialization? My front controller isn't one of these. So why should this be these? Oh, yeah, I'm just not sure about that. I'm gonna leave a note here though. Yeah, I don't think it is this anymore, being honest. I think it is this anymore. Oops. I don't think you're that anymore either. It's got a reference to that. Front controller tests. Means that the changes here for the bulk deserializer, these are not good changes. Same for the scripter provider. These shouldn't be changes here either. Now, from a nullability standpoint, I really don't know what the answer to this one is. I guess in theory you could have always done this before. And we'll see who's violating the nullability principles here. All right, so here's where we're going to need options conversion. We knew that was coming. What else? No bulk deserializer. No descriptor provider. So there's options conversion and options conversion as well. We were previously disposing the front controller, but now we need to be async disposable. And not disposable. You are value task, async dispose, or dispose async. I forget what it's called. Dispose async, I think. Right? Right. Front controller. Oh, right. Actually, that means if front controller isn't disposable at all, what are we using? Are we using a disposal tracker? We must not be. We do have a disposal tracker, and we are async disposable. So what that means is I need to do the same thing over here in assembly runner now and just do a disposal tracker. Okay. We need options conversion here because we're getting the wrong option types. Should be easy enough to fix, right? This is internal. One of you, one of you, one of you, one of you. Okay, that fixes the assembly runner. So basically we need options conversion now. Okay. One more thing. Add a class, XUnit to options adapter. Okay. Phone is yelling at me. Why are you yelling at me, phone? Doesn't appear to be anything important. Okay. Public static XUnit to options adapter, XUnit runner v2. Public static. Let's see. I test framework. Let's see. T options. T options. adapt T options, options, where T options is an I test framework options, right? And then what I need here is let's see, two options. No, I can't quite do that, can I? I have to do it this way. I test C. Test framework option, discovery options. You have I test framework discovery options. Similarly, I test framework execution options. You are I test framework discovery options and execution options, right? Implement. Your CTOR is that you take in an I test framework options, three options. Three options, get value. I can't believe I haven't written this one yet. Set value to value, name value. You have multiple parameters. Okay. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. That is also going to need to be along with Marshall by ref object. It's going across, potentially across app domains. This looks too long now. You're getting away with still being short enough. Yeah, see, I thought I had written something like this. Temporary method, do not use. Sweet. Wrap. Framework discovery, test framework execution. Means I should just be able to send this along. As is now, right? What? This is the options wrapper in the other direction. Need that anymore. Actually, aren't you a V2 concept now? You are. Look at you. You're not running common anymore. Good job. Does that mean we don't have a test framework? Oh, we have an underscore test framework options. That's what we good. Here's an instance of test framework options. Yeah, so you were the wrong name all along, sir. You're optimist in half your sentence. Okay. Back to you in a minute. I realize you've got other problems related to message 6. A copy of this? Is that why? I don't have proper formatting either. Wow, this comment isn't even correct. This is really going to start. Like it didn't already cascade enough. All right, well, I've obviously bitten off too much in one go. It's 8:45 p.m. I haven't had dinner yet, so I'm gonna have to cut it here for the moment, um, and then sort of come back and finish it up. So that's it. Hopefully this YouTube experiment worked. I might move to YouTube. One of the things I think I would probably like about YouTube is I think you guys should be able to watch it without having to see ads, right? Because I'm not trying to monetize the stream. So it'll be interesting to see if that's true. Anyway, that's it for my experiment today. I'll see you guys next time.